Think about all the times you have been hurt. Though your first instinct will always be to first point the fingers at whoever hurt you, whatever did you wrong, at this point in life you have probably realized that guilt and that responsibility over something that happened is something that is shared between the two people involved. What we do at this point, after realizing that yes, I had a part in what happened, what we start to do very often is to blame ourselves. And we start to say, I should have avoided this. I could have avoided this. I loved too much. I gave too much. I should be more self-reliant next time. I should be more independent. And independence is a very funny word, and one that I have been reflecting on a lot lately, because the original definition of independence is being able to do things on your own. But the modern definition of independence has become something completely different, from I can do things on my own to I must do everything on my own. I must not need anyone. It sounds great on paper, right? Because an independent person does whatever he or she wants, whenever he or she wants, without being dragged down by the hassle of human connections. They have complete agency over their choices, their lives, and whatever they want to do. If you're like me and have some degree of societal programming, you probably thought to yourself, wow, what a dream to not need anyone. I wish I could have that. But that's precisely the goal of this video, to tell you that this is one of the most destructive ideals that we as a society came up recently. This objective, this dream that they sold you, is corrupting your expectations of yourself, of the world, and of the relationships that you have. So the first problem is that it creates this illusion that you don't need people and that you should be actively countering your instincts, your natural instincts, to relying on people, to needing people for your own bettering as a person. All over the internet, there's this discourse of non-attachment and not looking for others for comfort and finding grace in solitude and not relying on whatever the others may provide you to be satisfied with your own presence. And all of that is good. All of that these ideas that you should be your first champion, that you should be championing for your objectives, that you should not need someone's approval to do whatever you want with your life, that's great. You will never find fulfillment, and that's a fact, that you'll never find fulfillment if you are not first at peace with yourself, with your thoughts, and with your quiet way of existing. But this is not that. This is another level of independence, as they tell you. That this is not enough, that just being okay with yourself, just being in acceptance of who you are is not enough. No, you need to take it a step further. You need to stop needing the others. What I'm talking about here is that independence is now seen as the highest achievement one could strive for, especially independence over people. As a man, you have no time to waste on friendships, on relationships, on anything other than your career until you're 40 and have 3 successful businesses. As a woman, you have to be able to prove that you are capable of being a worker, a mother, a sister, a woman, and you have to prove that you can be all of that without needing men. Our success is now measured on how much we did on our own, how much did we do independently of our support network or the ones that love us. And though of course there is great value in the people and us who are capable of doing things alone, who are capable of rising from whatever we came from and building amazing lives for ourselves, there's a lot of value in that. But the way we are promoting these ideas, the way it seems that this independence, this so-called pinnacle of our human existence, is not needing anyone. The way it's being sold to me sounds like we're not really striving for independence and being self-reliant. The values are being passed on is of avoidance and fear and running away from the importance of a real human connection. that pushes you to become a better person. And it really makes me wonder, what happened to the importance of having a support network, of having friends, family, lovers, of having a strong community to back you up? What happened to the importance of communities? Because back in the day, that used to be what people had. That used to be how people could survive in difficult times. Research shows that the strongest predictor of long-term happiness and well-being is the quality of our relationships. In fact, poor social connection has been linked to worse health outcomes, and loneliness has been found to increase the risk of early death. But today, it seems that people are afraid. They're afraid of vulnerability. They're afraid of loving and being loved. They are aware of the impermanence of relationships and choose to invest all their energy in other things, in themselves, in their careers, in their hobbies, in their whatever it is that is more important than the love that you can nurture with other people and for other people, for your fellow humans on this earth. We have created people that fear each other. We look at each other with distrust even when we love them, because we are always asking ourselves, how will this hurt me? How will this love that I'm giving you fire back at me? How will this be used against me in the future? And so we would rather give love sparingly, give love very scarcely, rather than giving it in abundance and not suffering from the lack that we give. Relying on people is not a weakness, it's an art. It really targets our deepest insecurities, our sense of worth, of acceptance, knowing how to ask for help, accepting the vulnerability that comes with it, putting yourself in the hands of others. That's real strength. No one really knows how to do that anymore. You are risking being denied something, which you usually interpret as a denial of you, of what you are, instead of a denial of simply what you're asking, which is nothing personal, really. And we are very bad at being rejected, because right now, I think we rarely put ourselves in situations where we might be rejected. We hide ourselves behind our phones, behind cameras, behind whatever it is, because we would do anything in our power not to have someone say no to us. Because it's, as I said, it really targets our insecurities. And we forget that when someone is saying no to us, they're not really saying no to us. I mean, they might, but usually they're saying no to the circumstances that in which we are appearing as, but we're just a part of the whole play that is their lives at that moment. And so in our solitude, we become weak. When we are alone, there is no one to judge us from our choices, from our decisions. And so it does make it easier to make difficult decisions. And so in that sense, solitude really does bring something to someone that is going through a period of transition in their lives. We would rather suffer alone than having the world looking at us suffer. But it also makes it extremely hard to grow from your mistakes, because your choices affect only you. And we humans have a horrible memory, we really do. And so it's harder to implement the learning that we had, the thing that just happened, into something that can change our character. Because when it affects only us, we don't really care that much. We can suffer, it's fine, it's my life. But as the moment when it affects someone else's life, it's my decision has a weight that it didn't have before. I need to be a lot more thoughtful and a lot more responsible about the thing that I'm about to decide. And this is why communities are so important, even though they are slowly disappearing with globalization. And why are communities important? Better yet, what is the intention behind turning communities obsolete? Because when people lose sight of what's important, they start to seek validation in things that have no meaning. They consume, they work, they travel even, to forget that what we as humans really need is real human connections, that we're determined by the quality of our human connections, and that everything else is just a way to complement, to enhance, to make it better. But we would be nothing without the people surrounding us. People are more easily manipulated into being work slaves because their career should come before anything else. They lose more easily track of their roots, where they come from, what is their history, and the feeling of belonging somewhere. It also makes relationships more transactional than ever. It has to be furthering my path, my career, my objectives, my whatever it is that is me, and me. Life is approached through a consumption lens. There is no giving, there is only taking. And this makes us develop into very imbalanced people because we are so frugal with love. Whenever we find someone that is giving their love freely and wholly, we become very clingy and anxious that it might run away because we're so deprived of it. We don't realize that this is the way it's supposed to be, and so we're so thirsty that we drain the fountain completely until it's depleted and it runs away again. And the problem when you're disconnected with the things that truly matter is that you forget that the things that truly matter is people. Is people laughing, is people crying, is people being with each other, is people loving. Family, friends, lovers, we need all of that. We are not just some boundless, strainless, non-attached creatures that are just existing and floating through space. No, we need these relationships that bound us to what we are, that connect us to earth, to nature, that make us go deep, dive deep within what we are, what we're made of. Okay, and now you may ask, what do I do with all of this information? And so the first step you already did, probably. You already realized of the impermanence of human relationships. You already recognize the impermanent nature of relating yourself to humans, that in the end, it's probably all finite and it's going to end. Now, the thing that people usually do when they realize that is that they try to run away as fast as possible from that. And what you're going to do instead is just presence. You're just going to strive to being present. And now you might ask, but what does presence really look like? Well, presence, for example, imagine you're meeting someone new. Imagine maybe a friend, a potential lover, whatever it is. You're meeting someone new. And so your first instinct might be to set up as many dates as possible, as many hangouts with this person as possible, because you really like the connection that you have. You really like them. And when you realize that you're doing that or you're about to do that, you have to recognize, and that's I think might be the difficult part, is recognizing the pattern that you have established for yourself. But when you recognize that, instead of judging this is good, this is bad, doesn't matter. What you want to do is just sit with yourself for a few minutes where you're doing nothing but just being there, and you ask yourself the question. And it's not a question that is meant to be answered with your mind. It's meant to be answered with your intuition, with your inner knowing. And you know when it's being answered by your inner knowing. So you just ask the question. You don't even ask, you just stand there and you look at yourself acting. And just by looking at things, just by observing yourself with kind of an outward perspective, you usually have your answer. And it might be that it's perfectly fine to be setting up so many things with this person because it's in line and I feel the reciprocity of it. It's fine. Or you may realize that I may be going a bit too fast. It may be that I'm anxiously trying to get this person because they really make me feel good. They really make me escape from the things that I don't like about myself. My mother once told me something that really stuck with me. She told me that love has never gone wrong from people loving too much, only from people withdrawing from the love that they want to give. This really is so true because our natural state of being, our natural way as spiritual beings, as humans, is to give. All we want to do, our natural tendency is to give. The heart wants to give everything. The heart is an open place. The heart is open and expansive and accepting of everything. But the mind has scarcity. The mind is afraid. The mind has mental patterns that were built from our past experiences, from people that were equally hurt as we were, and so they hurt us, but not because they wanted to, because they didn't know any better. So it's up to us to know any better. to open our heart to real meaningful connections, to realize that there's a brother in the other human that is facing us, that they're not a threat, they're perhaps just waiting for an extended hand. Perhaps our love is what will make them evolve. And so, isn't it stupid that we decided that not needing other people is the best thing that could happen to us? Quite on the contrary. Because we need other people, it's our responsibility to be the best person we can be for them and for us. So just by being present, by being there, without letting your thoughts intervene with and coming between you and your true nature, that's enough. You're acting from a state of true presence. There is no avoidance. There is no desperate need. There is only joy and bliss from sharing the love for another human being.